Jeff Rising, the Rising team at Remax here. I wanted to address some things that are going on in the news. Everyone's freaking out about the interest rates. Oh my gosh, it went up 0.5%, right? So a couple of things. Those of you that have been around a while or have been homeowners for a long time, or maybe bought your first house 20 years ago or 30 years ago, know that this is still okay, right? 6%, 6.25%, 6.5%. Still okay. I know it doesn't help anything to say that, hey, when I bought my first house in 2004, it was 7.5, which it was. I know that doesn't really help, but we're going to look today at what this news article from Inman, which is a great real estate resource for any realtors out there that are watching. Sign up. It is a paid membership site. But so according to the Fed Chair Jerome Powell, he declares home buyers need a bit of a reset. Thanks, Jerome. So here's what's going to happen. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell on Wednesday acknowledged the brutal housing landscape Americans face amid rising prices and skyrocketing interest rates, saying that especially younger would-be buyers need a rest. All right. Thanks again, Jerome. Powell made comments during the lengthy press conference where he discussed the Fed's approval of the biggest interest rate hike in 28 years. The rate hike is meant to combat inflation, which in May reached the highest point in 4 decades. So, all that being said, you know, the government and the Federal Reserve does these things to control inflation, to keep prices and other things down, to slow down the housing market a little bit. You know, we can all agree the housing market's been bananas the last 18 months, right? Or 2 full years. You know, the scarcity principle, you know, home buyers couldn't look at houses. They were competing against 5, 10, 20 other people. People went nuts offering over list price. So this is going to help slow that down a little bit. So here's what I think we're going to see in the next 3 to 6 months. People are always going to need a place to live. Okay. People always need a house. People always need a place to live. Nothing to worry about. The only difference being people purchasing homes are going to be people that have a need to purchase a home. The last 2 years, a lot of people have been purchasing homes because the interest rates were stupid low. 3%, why not? I'll buy a house instead of rent. So going forward, here's what we're going to see. Home buyers who live in a rental, outgrew their rental, want to buy a house. They're still going to buy. Home buyers homeowners that bought their first starter house a while ago and it's too small, they outgrew their starter house, they're going to buy. People who relocated to the area that don't want to rent, they're going to buy. A lot of people are still going to buy houses, so don't worry about that. Home sellers, you got nothing to worry about. People are still going to buy houses. It might take a little bit longer to sell your house than it has been the last 2 years, which, you know, selling a house in 2 or 3 days is not normal by any means. Historically, over the course of the real estate history, it usually takes 4 to 6 months to sell a house. So I don't think we're going to get back to 4 to 6 months, but I do think it's going to take, 2 to 4 weeks for the next month or two, a month and a half to 3 months, maybe later in the year, but still less than 6 months, so I wouldn't worry about that. So here's another interesting thing I found. So this is on Wikipedia, just looked up a history of recession. So technically, at the end of the quarter, they're probably going to declare that we're in a recession. So what does a recession mean? Recession means that we have 2 consecutive quarters with a negative GDP. So here are the recessions dating back through the history of our country when people were keeping track all the way to the 1800s, right? So you can just Google this, look on Wikipedia, but the most recent ones we can look, 1973 to 1975, 1980, 1981 to 82, 1990 to 1991, March 2000 and November 2000, December 2000, February 2020 to April 2020. During the COVID-19 recession, they called it the Great Recession of the 2007 to 2009, where the foreclosure crash happened last time. And a nice segue into that, everyone's saying, oh my gosh, if there's a recession, we're going to have a market crash again. No, it's not true, because you can see we had the Great Recession in 2007. We had another one in February of 2020 to April 2020, right? So nothing to worry about. Banks learned a lot during the foreclosure crash of 2007, 2008. They know what not to do. They're more familiar with doing short sales to help people out with their houses. So there's a lot of different things going on, but most importantly, I wanted to share this article with you. This is part of a greater plan by the federal government to control inflation, slow down the buying frenzy, and it's probably going to work. We want gas prices to go back down. We want all of our food prices to go back down because they're jacked up right now because of transportation prices. So don't worry about it. People are still always going to need a place to live. Trust me, I've been there. We'll get through this too. If you have any questions, DM me. We'd love to chat with you about it. But really, for home sellers, I don't think we're going to see prices affected until later in 2022. So yes, if you were thinking about selling in the next 1 to 3 months, go for it. Get your house on the market. Again, it's going to take 1 to 4 weeks probably to sell it right now, but we're not going to see prices affected quite yet. The buyer pool for your price range is going to shrink a little bit because as interest rates go up, people that were buying for 250, now they're shopping for 200. People that were buying for 400, shopping for 400, now they're shopping at 350. So that's really going to be the biggest difference when interest rates go up. The home buyers, most of them are not going to leave the market. It's just going to reduce the price range that they were shopping in. So it's not going to affect your prices until probably September or October, in my opinion. Hope that information helps. And if you have any questions, let me know. Talk to you soon.
No losses, I don't do lipo. A few screws loose in the head, I'm a psycho. Promise you the bar just as real as the bite though. Misunderstood, you could call me a typo.